The biggest issue this election we've repeatedly seen is the economy. And according to the same USA Today Gallup poll that puts John McCain ahead by 4 points, the Arizona senator is making enormous strides in that department compared to his Democratic rival. The new poll showing that McCain now trails Obama by just 3 points when it comes to which candidate would be better able to handle the economy. That's up from a 19-point difference a little more than a week ago. The jump significant given that the McCain campaign has consistently lagged behind Obama in all things economic. With us now, former Bill Clinton pollster Bernard Whitman and Republican pollster and consultant Chris Wilson. Welcome to both of you. Bernard, those numbers tightening up that much in a week, to what do you attribute that?
Well, let me tell you this. The CNN USA Today poll is known for wild swings over a very short amount of time. And I got to tell you, John, if my poll numbers were that wacky and that unpredictable, I'd probably change careers. If you look at Scott Rasmussen, who is an evangelical Christian, who happens to actually govern the town or run the town where I live now, his poll has McCain up by 1, which is exactly the sort of bounce that I would expect. I thought after both these conventions, the two parties would be tied. And one of the reasons for that is that Rasmussen's poll, unlike the USA Today Gallup poll, controls for short-term volatility in the electorate.
So you think it's just funny numbers?
You never decide a race based on one data point, and Chris well knows, my good friend Chris Wilson well knows, that if you have a data point that's errant, you generally put it to the side. All
right, Chris, you're a pollster as well. Now, the numbers have tightened up in terms of the overall who would you vote for. Does it make sense that the economic attitudes would change this much as well?
Well, the one thing about the Gallup numbers that I think are interesting to analyze is that these are really coming out ahead of everyone else's. I know Fox is going to have numbers coming out this afternoon. It'll be interesting to see what happens with those. But I'm a little bit less willing to just throw these numbers out. They do make sense to me when you see us coming off of the heels of the National Convention to move from a 19-point Democrat lead in the economy to a statistical dead heat. Whenever you're looking at in the last 2 days of the Gallup track, McCain has moved to a 10-point lead. Again, looking at what happened over the last few days, the message of the campaign, the McCain-Palin message, that makes sense to me. And I think it speaks to big troubles for Democrats. Sometimes polls can be a little bit like figure skating scores from French judges. You throw out the high and the low score. But this one makes sense to me, and I think whenever you feel what a poll feels good and you kind of look at it, it represents the economy or represents what's going on with public opinion, and then you want to take it for what it is. And
Bernard?
If it agrees with what comes out from Fox later today, then I think we can move forward knowing these are accurate.
Bernard, Hillary Clinton is all over the state of Florida campaigning for Barack Obama, but she is not taking on Sarah Palin. Is that smart strategy?
I think it is. I'm glad that finally someone is talking about the economy, and Hillary Clinton is a great person to do so. I tell you, the real elephant in the room in St. Paul was the economy. I didn't hear John McCain talk about it once. And this is the issue that's ultimately going to decide the election. And it's about time we had someone out there talking about working people, middle-class families, and the tax cuts that are necessary to move this economy forward. We didn't hear one iota on the economy from John McCain and the Republicans last week.
Chris, what about the Hillary attacks, though? Should she go after Sarah Palin?
I don't think that's in her best interest to do, and particularly when you look at Hillary Clinton is a defined figure. It is she's got to go out and she's got to be a good soldier. She's got to campaign for Obama, but I think you're seeing from her a bit of a reticence to get involved. I mean, she saw the same sort of attacks coming at her that are now going towards Sarah Palin, and I think she's saying, wait, I'm not really willing to be a part of that. And from a standpoint, she's got to go campaign, but the overall impact, I don't think it's going to be all that significant on the ticket, because she's not on the ticket. And Obama put her on the ticket, different story, but she's not.
We'll be back with you in just a couple of minutes. The New York Post, owned by Fox News parent company, endorses John McCain for president. The paper cites his courage, service to America, and his choice of a running mate, the, quote, rock-solid Sarah Palin. You can read the entire endorsement at NewYorkPost, nypost.com. Well, John McCain has repeatedly touted his ability to reach across the aisle, and this weekend he took it a step further. On Face the Nation, McCain said he would have Democrats in his cabinet if he is elected. When asked how many, McCain replied,
Well, I don't know how many, but I can tell you, in all due respect to previous administrations, it's not going to be a single, well, we have a Democrat now. It's going to be the best people in America, the smartest people in America.
McCain also says he'll ask some of his highest paid aides to work for $1 a year. Back with us now, Bernard Whitman, a former Clinton pollster, and Chris Wilson, a Republican pollster, and right now a consultant on more than 50 congressional races across the country. $1 a year, Chris, what's the point of that?
Well, I think what it does, it gets to the point of government spending. It shows that McCain has taken this seriously, and it's nice to draw the contrast. Again, if the campaign is fought over economics and it's fought over who's spending more and who's spending less, that's an argument that works for John McCain. And I think from that standpoint, it's smart. Is it a bit of a gimmick? Yes, it is, but it still is one that works with voters.
Well, I mean, Chris, when you're talking about, I guess, a few $100,000 or, maybe $1 million in White House salaries, I don't know, maybe $2 million, that is a drop in the bucket compared to the national budget.
Oh, it is. It's like I said, it's not a big hit from a standpoint of actually impacting the national budget. What this is to show is that John McCain's doing everything he can. He's making sacrifices, and he's going to ask his staff to make sacrifices too. And I think just from a whole government spending earmark standpoint, it fits right into his image, and it works.
Bernard, let me read you an email from a viewer. She wrote me, this is Jan in Fort Myers, Florida. She said, John McCain promised on national television that he announced he would fill his cabinet with the most talented people he can find, including Democrats. She goes on to say, I haven't seen any follow-up. If Obama announced he would put Republicans in his cabinet, this would be headline news. Isn't it newsworthy? What do you think about that?
Well, I'm delighted that John McCain says that if elected, he'd put Democrats in the cabinet, because that to me means that maybe he'd get some sound economic advice. But fortunately for the American people, I don't believe John McCain's going to get that opportunity. And let me make a point with respect to that salary of $1. I mean, first, I think it's an unbelievable, cynical gimmick. If that's John McCain's idea of deficit reduction, we're in greater trouble than I thought. And number two, as a colleague said to me today, this just shows John McCain's allegiance to the rich folks. He wants to give only the rich tax breaks, and evidently he only wants to pack his administration with those people who can afford to volunteer for service. And I just think that that's ridiculous and wrong.
Bernard, though, are you falling into the trap? I mean, a lot of Americans say, let's just govern. Let's get together, Republican, Democrat, let's get this country moving. Are you saying that only Democrats know how to do that?
No, absolutely not. I'm still frustrated from last week when all we heard from John McCain and the Republicans was his biography and his character. And look, everybody knows he's a war hero, and I'm, as much as anyone else, greatly indebted to him for that. But what is he going to do to fix this economic crisis? And trust me is not an answer, I think, that most Americans are willing to accept right now.
Bernard Whitman, Chris Wilson, we have to say goodbye. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.